There's this belief that if you want something bad enough, you will eventually get it. But neuroscience actually shows the opposite. The more desperate you are for something, the more that you obsess over it, the more that you crave it, the more you can actually block yourself from receiving it. And I know that sounds crazy because we've been taught work harder, grind more, want it more. But there's a difference between desire and chronic desperation. And in this video, I want to talk about the neuroscience behind constantly chasing something and how that can actually lower your motivation, increase your anxiety, block creativity, and actually make you feel farther away from the life that you want. And more importantly, what you should do instead in 3 simple steps. If you're new here, hi, my name is Amber. I'm an author, entrepreneur, speaker, community builder, and I am genuinely super fascinated by neuroscience, how the brain functions, psychology, human behavior, and what actually helps people transform their lives and turn their dreams into reality. So if you've ever felt exhausted for trying so hard, this video is probably for you. So before we go into the 3 steps, I wanted to cover 3 reasons why wanting is actually blocking you from receiving, so that way you can get an understanding of this before you actually do something about it. First, we need to talk about dopamine. Most people think that dopamine is the happy hormone, which that's a nickname given by many, but in neuroscience, dopamine is described as your brain's reward system and the molecule of motivation. So dopamine is actually the chemical of motivation, desire, and the pursuit rather than just this pleasure chemical. And dopamine is actually very heavily connected to wanting, craving, seeking, and anticipation. So I want you to imagine dopamine like a pool of water. So you have a baseline level, which is where the pool's water is naturally sitting. Now, when your brain is in a constant wanting state, you end up experiencing phasic dopamine spikes. So imagine every time you crave something, you have this dopamine spike, whether that's checking your phone, referring to analytics, waiting for a text, obsessing over success, or even just thinking, I'll finally be happy when XYZ result occurs. So every craving obsession is like someone jumping into the pool and creating a splash, which is the dopamine spike. But here's the problem. When you keep creating chronic dopamine spikes over and over and over again, your baseline level is actually lowering. So look at it this way. Every time someone is jumping into the pool and water is splashing out, the baseline of the pool's water is lowering and lowering each and every time. So now the pool itself is getting emptier. And when your dopamine baseline drops, you don't just lose motivation. You lose joy, excitement, satisfaction, energy, presence, creativity, and even emotional stability, which is why people who are constantly chasing something feel emotionally exhausted because your nervous system is living in this constant pursuit mode. And the crazy part is the thing that you think is actually motivating you might actually be the thing that is draining you. Now let's go deeper. When dopamine decreases, anxiety and stress increase. And when your brain is stressed, it goes into survival mode. A lot of people are actually living in survival mode and they don't even realize it. Meaning your brain can become less creative, less open, less intuitive, and less able to notice opportunities. Stress and anxiety create tunnel vision, and not the good kind. But you stop seeing possibilities because your brain is focused so much on lack. I don't have it yet. I'm so far behind. What if I fail? What if it never happens? And what's interesting is that your brain starts reinforcing that emotional state to be its reality. Basically, it is reinforcing lack, which means you are less likely to see things that are going to guide you into a direct path. So a decreased ability to see opportunities, and you are exhausted because your brain listens to repetition. So if your dominant emotional state is, I don't have enough, I'm not there yet, I need this to happen, your nervous system starts to memorize scarcity, which is why desperation repels so many things in life. not because of magic, but because stress and anxiety change the way that your brain is perceiving reality. And this part is life-changing when you realize it. Most of the time, you don't actually want the thing itself. You want the feeling that that thing is going to give you. You want to feel loved, you want to feel safe, you want to feel secure, you want to feel freedom, you want to feel success, you want to feel confident, you want to feel enough. That is what you're actually chasing. And this is why so many high achievers feel so empty after accomplishing huge goals, because they spent years chasing this destination without ever learning how to experience the feeling along the way. Heck, I've experienced this myself. You hit the goal, you accomplish the thing, and instead of feeling fulfilled, your brain immediately moves the finish line again to, okay, what is next? And this is very common in high achievers and entrepreneurs, so you yourself may have experienced this. And if you never slow down long enough to feel gratitude, to feel presence, to feel joy, to celebrate the small thing, then you stay trapped in this chronic waiting, always reaching for the next thing and never actually arriving at what you want, which is actually just the feeling. So what do we do instead? Let's get into the solutions. Step 1, stop waiting for that external thing to give you that internal feeling and activate that feeling in yourself now. Practice feeling it, because neuroscience shows that gratitude and presence actually activates a different circuit than craving and wanting does. Wanting activates these wanting circuits, which drops your dopamine levels. Gratitude activates these liking circuits and actually resets your dopamine base level, which brings that motivation, that joy, that feeling that you are wanting. So wanting basically says, I'll be okay when XYZ occurs, or when I get XYZ result, or when my body looks like this. But gratitude says that I can experience the goodness and the wholeness now. You are present in feeling it now. You can feel goodness while still working toward your goals and the results you want and the body you want. And those two are two completely different nervous system states. One creates stress, the other creates safety. One lowers your baseline, the other restores it. So instead of constantly asking, how do I get more? Try asking, what if this moment could already be enough? So sit with this feeling of wholeness as if the outcome has already occurred, because it does exist. And when you unlock that energy, you can have it. You activate it, and that in itself is going to attract you to getting what you want. You step out of desperation and you step into abundance. Now, that doesn't mean stop being ambitious. It means stop abandoning yourself when you are building, because there is a version of success where you achieve your goals without destroying your nervous system in the process. Step 2 is slowing down. This one hit me personally, especially when I was trying to write my book. I wanted it so badly. And weirdly enough, the pressure of that was blocking me from actually making it a reality. Because every time I sat down to write, it felt super heavy. Like, this has to be amazing. This has to work. This has to prove something. But story time for you. I actually ended up getting diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis in 2020, and I ended up having to have an 8-hour surgery where I was in bed rest for a while. And I'm telling you this because I was forced to literally slow down. I had no other option. And during recovery, I wrote my book. And the funny thing is, I actually wrote it in 2 weeks. 1 is because I was probably very bored, but 2 is because the pressure had finally disappeared. That desperation disappeared. And creativity finally had room to breathe. That experience taught me something huge. Being in a rush blocks creativity. It blocks this flow. Forcing output from anxiety will never feel the same as creating something in alignment, in excitement, and in peace. So ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped putting such intense pressure on this timeline? What if slowing things down actually was speeding things up? Step number 3, which is probably the hardest one, detaching from the outcome, because attachment creates fear and fear creates resistance. Now, obviously that is easier said than done, but I want to explain this through neuroscience and the nerdiness again. Your brain does not show you all of reality. It actually is filtering reality. Just like when you go onto Google on your computer and you type something in, there's a bunch of code going on in the background. The computer itself is not showing you the code. It is showing you just the result of what you typed. So our brains work the exact same way. There's a million things that are being processed in the background that you are not actually seeing, and you're not consciously aware of it. You see what your brain believes is important, because if we saw it all, we would not be able to function as humans. We would be so all over the place and not be able to comprehend things and just overstimulated. So your brain shows you what it believes to be important, which means when you become obsessed, fearful, anxious, desperate, your brain is literally filtering through that lens. But when you let go, when you trust, and when you become emotionally detached from the outcome, especially of needing this immediate result, your brain opens back up. You become creative, more magnetic, more present, more aware. And ironically, that is when opportunities appear, because your nervous system is no longer gripping on so tightly. So let's bring all of this back together now. If you feel stuck and chronically wanting, number 1, activate the feeling now instead of waiting for the outcome. Number 2, slow down, especially the pressure and urgency. Number 3, detach yourself from the outcome and from needing everything immediately. You can still desire more for your life. You can still be ambitious and have big dreams and goals. I know I do. But you do not need to destroy your peace in the process. Please take that coming from someone who personally did herself. But honestly, some of the best things in my life came the moment I stopped chasing them from this desperational state. So maybe the goal isn't to even work harder or force it harder. Maybe the goal is to finally become someone who can receive it. If this video resonated with you, subscribe for more on neuroscience, the law of attraction, manifestation, entrepreneurship, business topics, and building a beautiful life from inside out, and actually turning your dreams into reality so you don't have to just dream about them anymore. You can actually live them.